See, look, do y'all hear that? It's 1:30 in the morning, y'all. And there's a fucking drum circle going on in the neighborhood I've never fucking heard, my dude. That is so wild to me because I know that everything is connected. You know what I'm saying? Let's say, look, let's start off with the mantra. You feel me? Because we're going to drop some motherfucking truth on this one right here. And I think the universe knows that right now. It's going to be on TikTok. It's going to be on YouTube. It's going to be right here on Twitch too. So y'all seeing it live. You know what I'm saying? On the next videos, I'm finna be going in live too, but it's gonna be on YouTube as well. And we just gonna nip it in the bud. You know what I'm saying? But you know what I'm saying? I go by Swami. You know what I mean? I be rapping. I be doing a lot of different things. You feel me? It's been a couple years since I came out with some truth like this. You know, except embodying it. You know what I'm saying? They say that a man is worth 100 times more than scripture itself when a man can embody the scripture. You understand what I'm saying? You know, everybody talks about these religious figures. You know what I'm saying? These dynamos of consciousness that embodied God and divinity. And we sit here and worship them. But we forget the message that they all portray to us, which is that all the works that I have done, you shall do in greater. That means that we shall be divine beings and take our place in godhood just as much as they motherfucking did. You know what I'm saying? And look, check me out. You know what I'm saying? It's like, hey, I'm sipping. I'm a shaman. You know what I mean? It's different. I say a prayer. I'm tapped in with Lord Shiva. I'm tapped in with different deities and, you know what I'm saying, aspects of my own divinity and consciousness that, you know what I'm saying, you can't put another realm you can't box in another realm of consciousness with your own. You know what I'm saying? You have to be in that. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, these things right here need to be taken as being sacred, just as all of our history, just as our actions, just as everything else. You know what I'm saying? And everybody wants to talk about, oh, well, this man, this person, that person did this, that, and the third to reach godhood and divinity, and they did all these works, right? And it's like, if you watch The Drunk, right? Let's talk about being intoxicated on the love of God. You know what I'm saying? Let's being intoxicated on the love of life, on the universal. You know, if we're talking about that, let's call this the universe. Let's call this God, right? And if I was Jesus, and I was like, hey, I know the prime formula to reach godhood, right? And he said, you need to do this, and that's it. Everybody's like, wow, wow, that is amazing. He actually tasted God and felt what God felt like. Let's worship him and just leave it at that. And then we can go about our day. 6, 5, 4 days out the week, not acting godly and shit. That's weird to me. You know what I'm saying? Because we over here worshiping something that the person is literally telling you that you need to do A through Z in order to reach the end goal, which is being of God, nigga. So if that's the case, what is the issue? Why is it being so misunderstood? Why is it the fact that the only thing that we could worship out of this whole thing is literally somebody telling us how to become greater as individuals, as men, as women, as gods, as deities, as people of godhood. And then all of a sudden, since you decide that you go for an hour, 2, 3 hours, nigga, a day, that you don't have any more obligation to being a part of creation. That is wild to me. Because the person that you're worshiping and whatever religion and culture that you come from, Eastern or Western, is you need to do the work. And you need to stop giving yourself a pat on the back on it. Because if you don't do A through Z, you don't get the end result. It's that simple. But everybody's so satisfied because, oh wow, it's so hard to think positive. It's hard to be loving and compassionate when I have 30 people around me talking like this, that, and the third. That's some bullshit, man. So we're gonna go ahead and jump up in this thing. You feel me? You know, I'm gonna put on some high frequency music. You already know I was peeping the avatar. Hey man, that's that little low key website right there. You understand me? Well, check me out. We need to get some high frequency going on. But here, real quick, let's start off with a prayer. Look, we got my YouTube channel, man. If everyone wants to come people out, it's been a couple years, obviously, since I posted. You know, but we got some real things going on. You understand me? So check this out, man. So we just gonna jump in. I don't know if everybody fucks with crystals, crystal technology, but we gonna jump in to the different aspects of elevation, man. You know what I'm saying? The spiritual activation. Like check me out. Check me out. I came across this amazing video by Daily Motivation. If y'all want to check it out, we just gonna jump right in.
Physical materials.
And I'm gonna be reacting the whole time through the process. You know what I'm saying?
Are two complementary polarities.
There you go.
And when two complementary polarities overlap,
Yin and
the
yang.
place that they overlap
You feel me?
becomes a merging, a meeting ground, a gateway that brings the best of both parts together. Those two complementary polarities are spiritual science.
Oh, my bad. I meant to start off with a prayer. You know what I'm saying? I meant to start off with a little mantra. You know, that's sacred to me. It's the Triambakam mantra for Lord Shiva. And we're going to start off with that. And first, let's go ahead and put on some high frequency music so anybody that's tapping into this can get, can tap into a higher dimension. You know what I'm saying? And realign their energies in tune with some, greater than the negativity that's blocking our world. You understand me? Yeah, this is one of my favorites right here. Gets me in the zone right away. Look, we're gonna start off. Look. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanan Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityormokshya Mamritat. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanan Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityormokshya Mamritat. Om Triambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanan Mrityormokshya Mamritat. Big blessings. Yes, I'm feeling that energy already, y'all. Hope everybody tuning in. We're gonna go fast with it.
The spiritual science is primarily focused on the cumulative knowledge and practices for human spiritual and consciousness development of traditions all over the world. The vibrational science has to do with the work with energy and how this work with energy, again from many different traditions around the world, can be a support for all of our spiritual and consciousness development.
So what he's speaking on is spiritual practice and understanding and the application of putting that into wisdom, like mental health, well-being, understanding and awareness, centered consciousness, being in the moment and presently aware, recognizing trauma, doing all of these different things that result in us being in a sleep state, just as Gurdjieff has said, and he'll actually mention once again. But this goes into deep traditional practices that have stemmed throughout time, in these shapes. The Vesica Pisces, we just transitioned or are in the transitioning state of Pisces consciousness to Aquarius consciousness. And we will continue to do so on the strand of the 12 that's focused around the 1, which again will be emphasized in this because everything is in divisions of 12, right? Around the 1. We look at the 12 different aspects of the zodiac sign. And we also get to an understanding that there's divisions of consciousness and expressions of life in all realms, as above, so below. But we can look at in the cosmos, right? Just as in the macrocosm, it's the grander cosmic scale. We can look in the microcosm, the smaller cosmic scale, and see that there's also 12 divisions. So if we also take that understanding, we can see that colors manifest as energy, smells manifest as energy. You have color therapy, you have aromatherapy, you have sound therapy with music, which also manifests as the same aspects of energy. And depending on the different band of frequency that it resonates with, that is the energy or color or whatever association that you can use. So if you're depleted or overexerted in certain areas, you can counterbalance them out with these things, whether it's through smell, sound, body movement, etc. So we're looking at these things, understanding that, if God is all encompassing, or spirit is all encompassing, or the universe is all encompassing, or Allah, or whatever name that you'd like to understand it as during due to your cultural background and upbringing, we can really understand that everything comes down to energy and the reaching for an embodiment of divinity. And that's what we're here for. And you have everything has been laid out. And so that's what we're talking about here when we're talking about spiritual activation, because it not only is in the spiritual realm of understanding these things, but we need to also implement it perfectly in the center of the Vesica Pisces and the best of both worlds as an alignment of an understanding of spirituality and the science of sound vibration and frequency and energy, in order for us to actually unify them and master ourselves as human beings. And that's what they think, that's what they call the deluge, the fall, the flood, us falling asleep again, and then us eating of the tree of knowledge, of the knowledge of good and evil, come together is the unity that we find God in. And whatever mistake that was, or whatever transition that was in the garden, we're here to create unity consciousness between the two. Non-dualistic, singular, single point energy.
The two always merge together, and in classical traditions all over the world, they always used vibrational methods not only for healing, but for higher level spiritual activations as well.
You got Fibonacci in the phi. So you got phi, which is the angular, right? We're just gonna look it up, right? So check me out. So phi is the golden ratio. It is literally the expression of God in all of existence. It's God's fingerprint, basically. It's the infinite universal fingerprint that everything is united and created from the same thing, right? So we have this is the Fibonacci spiral, which is the feminine aspect of nature, singular point, right? In perfect alignment and coherence with the angular structure of nature. So you have the expression. You see how it's kind of it's fading out. It's turning from one form into the next. In this linear form, and the expression in those two combined, the feminine and the masculine, the seed with life, that turns into the roots, that turns into the sprout, that turns into the branches and the leaves, that turns into the fruit, and then in turn gets ingested back again. And the different expressions are the different vibrations and constitutions of the divine. And that's where we have all of life being expressed in the same way, constantly, over and over again, in the same way, but on different levels and temperatures. And then we get a different degree of manifestation. Can I get a amen? You understand me? Come on, bruh. This is real metaphysical knowledge right here. You understand me? Let's get back into it.
From the perspective of many classical traditions, healing is the first stage. Healing is simply the act of becoming whole and coherent enough to be able to do the more advanced work, to transform oneself permanently. And this has to do with creating new structures in the human subtle body. The structures in the human subtle body are the only thing we will take with us through the gate of death. They're the only things that permanently become part of us. There's a concept that I refer to as the number prism, that to understand any phenomena, what we do in a modern scientific approach is we divide it into its component parts. And so what you'll find in India, for example, to understand healing vibrations, they tend to divide them into 3 different parts. And they'll talk about the 3 gunas. They'll talk about vata and pitta and kapha.
Yep.
These are 3-fold division.
Those
in
are,
the West, there'd often be a 4-fold
those
division of
are
the 4 elements.
different
In China,
from the
a
gunas, but
5-fold
he's on
division of
point.
the 5 elements. Well, there was an interesting statement by the great Rosicrucian teacher Rudolf Steiner, where he said to fully understand any system in the world and to be able to differentiate out every one of its core aspects requires at minimum a 12-fold division. This is a classical teaching
Got
of
the
great
12,
spiritual
y'all.
and
I
healing
was telling
traditions
you.
in the world. That's why there are 12 disciples around the Christ, why there are 12 imams in Shia Islam, while there are a division of the stars into 12 signs of the zodiac around the sun. It's 12 around the one.
Wow.
For those of you that know sacred geometry, and you look at how a cube is structured, a cube is the form that gives rise to matter. The cube has 12 lines that define the cube. If you look at a sphere, you can fit exactly 12 spheres around a central sphere. Again, 12 around the one. To be able to understand all these different world systems and put them into a common unified system, I was looking for a method to be able to differentiate out the 12 core aspects within vital energy. To lead to the discussion directly of this, I want to give a frame of reference of what we have done to create modern technology, because sometimes we take for granted that we live in an age of technological miracles. We just are so exposed to it every day, we don't think about it anymore. But the world has been completely transformed in the last 100 years through discoveries that have taken place over the last 150 years. Now, what I'm referring to here is that to have a science, you need to be able to differentiate any aspect of things into its component parts. You need to have a spectrum, or we would call spectrum analysis. So one of the first breakthroughs that we had was the identification of every type of matter that exists in the physical world. In the ancient world, you never had that. So we live in a material world, but we didn't know what all the different pieces of matter were until the latter part of the 1800s with the identification of the periodic table of elements. What we call the periodic table of elements is really the identification of the complete spectrum of matter itself.
So we have the periodic table of elements, right? And everything physical or anything that's manifested at all that we can see has a toroidal field around us, okay? So if we look in that and understand that, I'm going to show you the human body's toroidal field. And this is how the atom bomb was created, how nuclear, anything that is energy, period, that has been created, from the most extreme to the most subtle, from the psychic awareness to even just vibes. Oh, that person has weird vibes. I don't know. I kind of not feeling it, right? All of this comes from an awareness of energy. And this is what the toroidal field looks like around us. Everybody, whether you believe it or not, has this stretched out around them about 6 feet. You will not get away from it. And this is how the law of attraction works. And all the 7 universal laws correspond to this energy right here. And when you do spiritual practice, what happens is you awaken and expand this energy. Just like they say, raise your vibration, raise your frequency. You are literally raising the frequency of your glandular processes, opening the field of your heart, and expanding your energy and awareness to become one with the unified field of consciousness. And this is the whole goal of spirituality, right? So you have this field, okay? And the earth has the same thing. And that's what we're activated on. And so we need to remember that the exchange between energies are in these fields, that the manifestation, as above, so below, just like Thoth said on the Emerald Tablets, and in his tomb. That's the final message. As above, so below, as within, so without. So these processes are happening, right? And we are attracted to things, right? Let's think of it on a macrocosmic scale. The planets rotate in such a perfect orbit that their toroidal fields are so in combination and in sync with each other that it sustains a whole life, a whole aspect of life on many multiple dimensions in one solar system, in one galaxy, and in one universe, multiverses, etc. And this is what we need to understand, whether it's a crystal, whether it's a piece of glass, wood, whether it's, smoke, all the different aspects of the periodic table, right? Which is what I'm coming back to. Toroidal field of, let's see if they have it on here. So, check this out though. Okay? So we have the toroidal field of elements. Do you see the circle? Yes. So they all resonate with certain aspects of energy. Okay? I want you to remember that circular shape right there. Okay, radiesthesia. Look, it's all energy. It's all energy. It's all energy in different manifestations of it. It's all fucking energy, guys. Look at this. Beautiful. It's all energy. And it all connects, bro. It's all energy and it all connects. Sound, music, shapes, symbols, body movements, affirmations, words, period, spells, everything creates a vibratory field of effect, homie. Everything. And you can get away from it by lying to yourself and being subject to your traumas, to your past victimhoods, to your losses, to all your expectations, or even your wins, your gains, your everything that you have ever experienced on a vibratory level can be maintained through rhythm. The law of rhythm, man. You vibrate over a period of time and you rhythmically become that. That's how all of this works. It's all on the aspect. You light an incense You say the mantra, you do the meditation, you do the yoga practice, the tai chi, the qigong. You breathe, you believe, you have faith, you pray. All of those different things, homie, equalize a steady level of vibration. And that's what your godhood consists of. You dig? And that's what it comes from. Everything manifests from energy and spirit and vibration. It's just in different degrees.
Now we can be fully conscious of everything that makes up the physical world. That opened up everything in material science for all of our modern technology. So what you find in many classical traditions is that they will talk about different levels of creation. So there's the physical level. There's the etheric life energy level. That in China would be called qi, or in Japan would be called ki, or in India would be called prana. Greeks would call it the ether. So this etheric vital force energy is above that of the physical. Then there are consciousness levels, beginning with what we call in the West the astral level. Well, with all these different levels, we have to understand a progression that is taking place in modern science. And to do that, I think it's very helpful to review a particular concept coming from Rudolf Steiner. Rudolf Steiner mentioned at one time that people don't properly understand what electromagnetic energy is, because time and time again in subtle energy research in modern times, things dealing with etheric life force, with qi, we try to get validity from modern science by saying the vital life force is electromagnetic. But in fact, according to Steiner, electromagnetic energy is not the vital life force. If it was, you could plug the base of your spine into an electrical outlet and get charged up. But it doesn't work that way.
Oh my motherfucking gosh. Do y'all hear what he's saying? We try to give validity from modern science by saying the light of life force is electromagnetic. But in fact, according to Steiner, electromagnetic energy is not the vital life force. If it was, you could plug the base of your spine into an electrical outlet and get charged up, but it doesn't work that way. Now, doing a lot of research and the metaphysical science of the Egyptians, right? They had a lot of understanding of inorganic and organic materials, and what I mean by that is metal and crystals. They understood how to unify them together, just like Oregon did, bro. You know what I'm saying? Got the little Oregon technology, that's always acting. You got the gold with the amethyst and the copper and the quartz in the center in the shape of a pyramid. All of these different things, the geometrical shapes, the coil, the spiral in the front and the center with the gold dust and the amethyst is creating a certain vibratory effect in my field of energy and my resonance. Just like 5G is, Wi-Fi is, etc. But if you understand that, if you can come to a still point of energy and resonance, then that just by having this around, this is a still point of energy and resonance, right? These are still points of energy and resonance that even if 100,000 years pass by, it would be giving off the same energy if charged correctly. It doesn't diminish. It doesn't just go away. This is a part of the earth. This is a part of the earth. Eat plants. Yeah, they last. You can preserve them. You can turn them into a tea or a brew. You can ferment them. You can do a lot of things with plants, and that's beautiful. But the energy diminishes much quicker, much fucking quicker. It's like a blip to the lifetime of a crystal. And so we need to remember that these are not only pieces of quantum information and energy, but they're sustained energy in a way that we can use them to fulfill any type of need that we need medically, psychologically, etc. And that's what these crystals are for. because there's actually a term called quantum tunneling, right? And if you really want to talk about, oh well, that quantum theory stuff is not okay, nigga. There's literally quantum mechanic or quantum computers with a microchip that can literally do that. That's what CERN is doing. So let's not talk about quantum, existing on different levels of energy. If this is what the government is talking about and even being revealed to us, they used to be 40 years ahead of us, nigga. Now they're 100 plus. So we need to understand that the true technology is not based on electromagnetic energy. We need to tap into the vital life force of all things. That's why meditation is so important. You tap into your intuition. That's why visualization is so important and imagination is so important, because these are the ways that we tap into the higher dimensions and precipitate. The thought forms are in the fourth. You know what I'm saying? The vibration living through the understanding of that and precipitating is in the fifth. And it goes up from there. That's why 369 is the third dimension leads to the sixth doorway, which leads to the ninth divine. Do you understand? That's what 369 means. The spiral mathematics of Nikola Tesla. This is how the Egyptian pyramids were built, and we're going to get to that too. This is how the art of levitation was mastered. This is how the embodiment of life is sustained. It's through frequency, sound, and vibration. At first was the Word, and the Word was God. That's what that means esoterically, y'all. But how are we tapping into a lower life force energy that is electromagnetic if there's a higher vibration called light? And what's in electromagnetic energy vibrates slower than light.
There's a vibrational component in electromagnetic energy that is extremely toxic. And that's why people get electrosensitivity and have detrimental effects from electrical fields. What the vital life force is that's above the level of the physical, in every classical tradition, they understood that this vital life force is what went into the physical and animated it. It's the animating power. So when we understand that, we'll understand that when that power has animated the physical body through what the Chinese call the universal chi field, or what the Greeks would call the ether, that animation process creates resistance passing through the conductor of the human body, passing through the conductor of physical materials. And that means that this faster than light energy slows way down. And this particular energy from the ether begins to decay. The decay of the etheric energy, of the vital force energy. It's what we call electromagnetic energy.
Yes.
That's why Nikola Tesla in his work said, well, today in technology, we work with retarded Hertzian waves that are slower than light.
Do you hear what he said? We work with retarded Hertzian waves that are slower than light. That means that we are not working with the higher life force energies that are available to us, that are attainable through psychedelics momentarily. It activates these different chemical centers in the brain and opens up neural pathways, which then changes the neuroplasticity of the mind, which shapes it to be different, which shapes it to be more receptive or less receptive to certain things, right? And so what he's talking to us about is the technology that we're understanding and that we're using with the wires and the silicone-based technology. I don't want to say wires in a bad way, but I would more say the silicone, because it is needed to use the metal. But it's the what he's saying is that through his understanding of technology, which I will continue to be very, very adamant on expressing, because I have certain things that I want to reveal about that. He's saying that we can tap into the higher forces of energy in different ways that we have not been using. You understand? That's where all of his technology gets taken away all of his technology gets taken for granted. You know, he dies in a lame way. You know what I'm saying? I mean, in the way that Edison, compared to Edison, who's still talked about in such a way. Come on, my nigga. He deserves that more than anybody else because he did it freely. He did it for the unification of humanity, homie. And was he exploited? I mean, isn't anybody with a good heart exploited with great intentions, homie? So we have to look at that,
But
man.
Tesla in the 1890s said there's another type of wave, scalar waves, that are faster than light. And that's the real thing behind the electromagnetic energy. So for what I'm about to describe to you, the concept is then that our electromagnetic energy is in fact decayed life force. It's the decayed vital energy that animates living beings. But it became a shadow substance in electromagnetic energy.
You know what I'm
Now
saying?
it becomes gross enough, it becomes dense enough that we can use it to do things like turn a physical motor and create our modern technology. Hard to do that with the ether. You can animate a living being. And
Yes,
it's said
sir.
that some traditions have been able to harness the ether to be able to turn motors. And there's a lot of work going on in this field today in things like the Tesla Society. But that gross level of the energy and electromagnetic energy is what we use in modern technology. But here's the problem, that when we have the mastery of the electromagnetic spectrum and of the spectrum of matter, the periodic table, all of our technology today is based on how we stick this electromagnetic energy into specific pieces of physical matter, into silicon doped with germanium or whatever it might be, to hold a specific frequency. But what they ignore is what about the next level up? Because after the electromagnetic, which Steiner would call subnature or subphysical, and then the physical level, then you have the vital life force. We should be aware that every major
Yes, sir.
spiritual tradition on the
Prana,
planet,
chi.
every traditional culture until about
Ki.
300 years ago, all over the world, always focused their healing on the vital life force. That's true in every culture. It's only a very modern development to focus only on the physical body and claim there is no vital life force. These types of vibrations created by this technology are going to affect the vital life force level. So that vital life force level has got to come in to a new, more expanded scientific form of understanding. It goes back to ancient times, goes back to the ancient Egyptian temple science, goes back to the work of the Jesuits in the Catholic tradition. And this is not some conspiracy theory. This is actually coming from writings of Jesuit-trained French priests who wrote in French in the early 1900s and who wrote books about this. Then came into France, was given out to the public as an actual method to detect subtle vibrations, and then was taken further by people like Louis Turin. So as far as I'm concerned, this was a gigantic development in subtle energy work, to be able to differentiate the complete spectrum of all subtle energies into 12 parts. Now here's the thing. These 12 vibrations that make up the complete spectrum of subtle energy, the exact same way that the electromagnetic spectrum shows the complete spectrum of electromagnetic energy, these energies were described for simplicity by the French in terms of colors, because all of these subtle vibrations,
Yes,
they may be
sir.
completely invisible, or that vibration can appear in any quality scale. What do I mean by a quality scale? A quality scale is shape, or sound, or movement, or angle,
Yes.
or color, or proportion.
Oh my gosh, y'all. Do y'all understand what this man is saying, bro? Do y'all understand what is being told right now? That means that shapes, symbols, nigga, hold specific resonances of energy. Sounds hold specific resonances of energy. Movements, yoga, tai chi, qigong, resonate certain aspects of energy, bro. Colors, everything resonate certain aspects of energy in divisions of 12. Everything, dude, that you can think of, that you experience as a sensation, a feeling, anything can be expressed on this 12 scale aspect of understanding energy. Do you understand what power that you have and what you can do in your present moment just by using these things? I mean, this is no longer just spirituality. I don't I love that word, like, you know what I'm saying, but I don't like using it because it makes it seem like something that needs to be attained. That it needs to be, but it needs to be lived. You need to understand. You can create symbols, you can use symbols, you can listen to sounds and frequencies. You can do movements like yoga, qigong, tai chi, etc., martial arts. You can use colors. You can use shapes. You can use numbers. And all of those things reflect a different aspect of vibration and energy. And if you just change your mind a little bit and you take back your power, it's not in your boss's hands. It's not in your family's hands. It's not in your friend's hands, your son's, your mother's hands. I mean, it's in your hands. And you can use these as different mystical weapons against the things that defeat and destroy you, so you can become whole again. You understand me? That's the beauty of this shit.
All of these are qualities. There are healers who use only light and color. There are healers who use only sound. There's healers that use only angles. There are healers that use
Come
only
on now.
numbers. All of these are
Only
qualities
numbers.
to express
What?
the complete spectrum
Come
of
on,
vibrational
bruh.
forces. There are ways this can be engineered and activated, and they use this all the time in the ancient world. So the French in their work in the 1930s identified the way that the 12 bands of vibration that they had detected, which are all of the polarized energies in the world, all the things that create one specific power. It's hot versus cold. It's light versus dark. These different specialized powers of the 12, it's the connection to the original unified source. It's unity. Every one of these 12 bands is
Unity.
a divine power from
Nah,
the
Dave
unified
Chappelle.
source, from the God.
Y'all probably don't even know who that is, man. Shit. Or not know who he is, but seen that. You know what I'm saying?
This game, you're not ready for it.
Okay, look.
Godhead from a divine
We ready for the
beginning.
game. This is the
It
real
has to do with
game
all the
right
subtle
here.
energies that create life and
This
light
is
and
what they
peace
play with.
in the world. These are
Look, I just want to exclaim. I want y'all to really understand. Like, this is the game that is being played against us as human beings, man. This is what they do. You know what I'm saying? Obama. I'm dropping names. Obama was caught with a Hanuman, pendant. Hanuman, right? Hanuman aparam ramam bhaktam nama om. Yeah, he had a Hanuman pendant. Why is that? Is it the vibration that it brings holding that? The geometric shapes? With the yantra? Right? We were just talking about that, right? So I don't know if you're familiar with yantras, okay? Don't look at that one because I'm gonna give it away. I'm saying free movie shine. Don't look at that. Go movies. Alright, check me out. So what was you looking at? Oh yeah, the yantras. So this is a yantra, okay? Now, these are specific geometrical patterns that resonate with the consciousness of an aspect of divinity. So you see how this one, the Shri yantra, is Lord Shiva's. This one is a specific one, it doesn't say, but you see how it has the angles with the curvature, point, shape, circle, square, angles. Everything is togetherness, right? And when you stare at the point, it aligns the two hemispheres of the brain into the singular point of energy and aligns you with the consciousness of that the aspect of divinity. So now we're looking at geometrical shapes combined with aspects of meditation, focus, and concentration. So that's going to allow you to resonate at a different level of vibration and divinity. So now you can do specific ones. Like, look at this one. Like, look at these. And they all do different things, okay? Look. See how this is the Sri Yantra. It literally resonates you with everything. And it shows you the stones that resonate with each chakra, alright? So that's what I'm talking about, is that there's even a corresponding mudra. There's a corresponding asana, which is a posture. There's a corresponding mental image, deity, which is a concept of consciousness. All of these different things resonate on the 12-band spectrum of energy, which has been proven scientifically at this point. So when we understand that, we're rearranging neurological pathways. Our imagination is allowing us to achieve different things. Just like in the law of attraction, don't tell me that it doesn't work. Don't tell me that you don't understand it if that's what you're exercising. Because you know that you're opening neural pathways to where you no longer have to think about it anymore. And then it just becomes who you are. You become a money magnet. You become somebody who possesses beautiful light, symmetry, energy that aligns people. You know what I'm saying? And it becomes a constant as opposed to a moment.
The subtle energies, the complete spectrum of them. With that, these means that these are all specific divine powers. Each one of the bands has a divine power.
See,
this
look,
then brings us to understanding the powers that are inherent in vibrations for things like vibrational healing, vibrational medicine. And one of the great references that we use today is the field of cymatics. Cymatics shows you how sound vibrations shape matter. So for example, if you have powder on a flexible membrane, or you have a liquid or a paste or an oil, or all these things that, not coincidentally, also correspond to certain substances in the human body, and you then apply a...
Look at what's happening, y'all. This is all raising from a lower frequency to a higher frequency. The sand is rearranging itself, but it's a fixed frequency, okay? So if you had it in the middle and it was slowly progressing, it would be kind of congealed looking. It wouldn't be perfect yet to watch. Watch it shift.
Vibration.
Watch the tones change. See?
Is...
Do you see the middle part where you can't make it out, but it's becoming that? That's what happens when you say your affirmations. That's what happens when you meditate. That's what happens when you do your spiritual exercises, aligning mind, body, spirit through the breath. That's what happens when you use aromatherapy. That's what happens when you use color therapy. You're slowly transitioning from one state into the next. See, it takes time, and then you apply a vibration over time in a perfect way, or almost, and it becomes that vibration, y'all. This is how the universe works. Feeling is a vibration. Thought is a vibration.
To it. Then that vibration.
So you want to raise your frequency. See how it raises? Watch. It becomes more complex and perfect.
Mandala like this.
Look.
And what you see in the cymatics work is that the moment you change the sound vibration, the visible shape changes.
The moment you change the vibration, the physical shape changes. So remember what they were talking about with electromagnetic energy. That is what in Nikola Tesla's terms, that is the retarded form of Hertzian waves. So when we say that, oh, this is 432 hertz, okay, that means that in a scalar waveform, in a higher, that resonates faster than the speed of light. We're getting the dead form of it. We're getting the last part of it. Do you understand? It's like if somebody think so much, that they're so stressed out and they deal with so much, it causes diseases like Alzheimer's, dementia, right? Back problems, they can't support themselves inside. It's all these different things that resonate with energy, and it manifests itself not first physically, but first in the energetic plane, the mental plane, the fourth dimension. That's where when you attract something to you, what do? You think about it and visualize it first, and it comes into form physically. So you need to know that the energy, the fucking tone is the energy that's being sent out into the physical form, and it's rearranging itself as such.
If you go to YouTube, there are all kind of free videos on YouTube showing you Hans Jenny's original work, showing you a lot of modern stuff. People are even using this to create specific geometric patterns in fire. And what this means is if you can find the right sound vibration, you can find exactly the sound vibration that will resonate matter to create a specific function, including in living beings. From the work of Hans Jenny, where he was able to identify all of these powerful vibrations and the shapes they create. And I want to mention to you that one of the things he discovered is that when you apply the sound vibration, it'll take the two-dimensional surface of the liquid, the paste, the powder, etc., immediately form
See
a
how it's
perfect
getting
mandala.
more and more
We found
complex?
if you take 5 vibrations and you combine 5 vibrations together,
Listen,
then you could get the powder on the plate to come together, rise up vertically, and move like a living being. And there's
what the fuck? Did y'all hear that? Did y'all fucking hear that? He said that combining 5 different frequencies with cymatics on a tonal plate can make the sand or any type of malleable substance on the surface of this with 5 specific tones would make it get up and move like it's a living being. That makes me want to almost cry right now, dog. Do you not understand the significance of that statement right there? 5 tones to make sand with nothing inside of it to move like it's touched with God, homie. It's so profound that, just like Nikola Tesla said, if you want to understand the secrets of the universe, you must understand them in terms of sound, vibration, and frequency. We are specifically tonal beings in a frequency that is allowing us to maintain in quantum space and manifest from spirit into the physical in multiple dimensions at once.
There's pictures of this in his films. So it's with the combinations of
Because
sound
we don't
vibrations.
need an
One alone is
instrument.
not going to give you the full effect. You have to have the right
God is the
combination of
instrument.
vibrations
The
together.
universal
We
is
need
the
to be
instrument.
aware that stones are the most stable form of vibration in the world. Maybe you work with plants for healing. That's great.
You hear what he said? We need to be aware that stones are the most stable vibrations on the planet.
On vibrations. One alone is not going to give you the full effect. You have to have the right combination of the vibrations together. We need to be aware that stones are the most stable form of vibration in the world. Maybe you work with plants for healing. That's great. But how long will the plant hold potency? Once it's been prepared, it may be for some months, maybe for some years. But stones can hold the same vibration for millions of years.
Oh, for
Stones
millions.
are the most stable form of the crystallization of higher divine vibrations into the physical plane. That was understood by every classical tradition on the planet because they all use stones for spiritual and healing purposes. So this means that there's something to the use of stones and minerals, often far beyond what we find in modern popular books on the subject. They can allow us to access some very, very high forces. So this means we need to reclaim the lost knowledge of the use of these stones and apply that in modern times. Now, one of the best developments in recent times for getting some of the ancient stone knowledge out in a very deep form far beyond what we had in North America before, is the work of a Taoist teacher in North America whose name is Jeffrey Yuan. Yuan is Y-U-E-N. Jeffrey Yuan, one thing that he's really brought back is the concept of stone medicine. And it's hardly known today in the West that the Taoist tradition in China had as fully developed a stone medicine as they have a plant medicine. Because the only thing we got in North America was the plant medicine. Why? Because it was similar to our use of pharmaceutical drugs. The stone medicine, completely ignored. So Jeffrey Yuan has helped to bring this work back of the deep Taoist knowledge. And mostly you have to go to live classes with him to get this knowledge, because he does the classic Taoist thing of just oral transmission. But some of his students are starting to make books about the work or to teach the work secondarily. I've studied with multiple people that he's taught. I've studied with him directly. And one book I had mentioned to you, there's the book called Stone Medicine. That book is the first thing in print in English describing some of the teachings of Jeffrey Yuan. I expect there to be others. There's some very, very deep knowledge there. The challenge of it is that some of this material, you need to have a background in Chinese medicine to understand what he's talking about. And those of you that know about Marcel Vogel knew that he was a brilliant IBM scientist who did
Yes,
great
sir.
work with
Marcel
crystals in the
Vogel.
1980s. He died in the early 90s. And Marcel Vogel's work had to do with the right way to be able to cut a crystal so it would have a specific type of resonance to it. Now the tragedy, and Marcel himself used to lament this. I remember when I would take classes with him back in the 80s. He would lament the fact that they are now selling on the market all kinds of things that are poorly cut crystals to be double terminated and calling them Vogel crystals. He'd say these things don't have an energy anywhere near.
As a matter of fact,
A Vogel crystal. He'd say these things don't have all kinds of things that are poorly cut crystals to be double terminated and calling them Vogel crystals. He'd say
see,
these things
look,
don't have
this is a
anywhere
true
near a Vogel crystal.
Vogel
They're not cut properly at all.
crystal.
You have to cut the crystal along its axis of growth, because that's the way of the natural energy conduction. All these cheap crystals that are on the market today being called Vogel crystals, and they're being mass cut in Brazil.
Yes.
They're not cut along the proper energy axis, and they're not cut with the proper methods. There are still people who were trained by Marcel
That
Vogel
is the
that
true
are cutting and selling these things, including the guy that I do
Vogel
do my
crystal
cutting for me in California, whose name is Drew Towsley. And so this is a real Vogel crystal, cut the way that Vogel intended, an 8-sided Vogel crystal. And it has to have specific
This
angles
is a
in it that were angles
16-sided.
that Marcel found would actually resonate the internal matrix of the crystal, which, by the way, also resonate the interior of the water molecule. So the crystal and the water molecule's inner lattice are deeply connected at particular angles. And so by vibrating that has a very strong effect on the life energy of the
Amazing.
body that just any random so-called Vogel cut with double termination does not have. Plus he worked on the particular way that they would be designed to help to take human thought and manifest it into energy. Transformation of thought to energy. This is the form of the Vogel crystal, but I want to contrast that and make clear the difference between it and a master cut prana crystal. Now, the prana crystal is based on the design given out by Master Choa Kok Sui from the pranic healing tradition. And in pranic healing, they do a lot of bioenergy projection of energy. And with that, they didn't want the back termination when they're projecting energy out the front. Now that's when they are using it to pull toxic energy out of the human body, because then as you're pulling the toxic energy out, you may get a spray of the energy out of the back termination.
Wow.
So I want you to be clear about the difference between that design and the pranic healing design used by pranic healers who might work on people's energy fields with bioenergy for 6 to 8 hours a day. And then when they extract the toxic energy out of a person's field, it doesn't come out the back end the same way. And they use crystals very commonly in pranic healing for this purpose because it allows the person to work for much longer and not get the toxic energy from the client in their own field, and it makes the work much more powerful. And what I found is that by combining some of the Vogel methods and cutting with some of the information from biogeometry and other vibrational testing, such as the power of the number 16, power of the number 19, get these crystals with
The
16 and
power
19
of the number
facets,
16,
then you get
dude.
a sweet spot of energy that is extremely powerful. Then there's the aspect of the different types of vibrational qualities that are held in the stones. Dr. Karim had found the energy of the center, what he calls the BG3. The French had found the energy of the 12 band. So that raised the question, what were the master tonic stones? What were the adaptogenic stones? Now that we had a method to test it vibrationally, we could see what stones have unusual amounts of that centering vibration, and that being combined alchemically with these other band qualities. So I'm going to show you just a couple of crystals that I found with this quality. One very interesting one is one I refer to as iron rose quartz. Iron rose quartz is deposits of hematite, natural iron, inside of rose quartz. This particular stone only comes from one deposit in Madagascar. And what you find with this is that if you test hematite, natural iron, and in Chinese medicine and stone medicine, they are wild about hematite, because hematite has a fantastic effect. Iron has a great effect, that it pulls the energy in the human system that can begin to build up in the chest and the head and cause all types of health problems. It pulls it down to where it needs to go in the lower abdomen, what they call the lower dantian. And then rose quartz, beautiful stone, full of rose or pink vibration. In this place in Madagascar, nature alchemically merged the iron, the hematite, with the rose quartz and developed this particular stone.
Wow.
And when it combined them, it got very, very strong centering vibration that neither stone alone has. This is the great thing about alchemical design.
All
You can
these
get multiple
symbols, all these symbols, if meditated on, will do different things. Straight up. All of them.
components that don't have a particular vibrational band or don't have strong centering vibration, but if you combine them properly, bam, an alchemical change where you now have very strong centering vibration, sometimes potentially new bands that never existed before. So the effect of this iron rose quartz is that it creates a strengthening, balancing effect in the human energy field, pulls the energy down that's stuck up too high in the body, down to the lower abdomen, the way the iron does, but balances the energy field at the same time with the much greater amount of the centering vibration, and at the same time adds in this heart resonance and energy with the rose quartz. So this is an adaptogenic stone. Now, the problem with this is that most of this stone that's sold today has all been artificially heated, and it's taken away a huge amount of its benefit. Sometimes when I test it, like 90% of its benefit's gone because it's artificially heated, and it looks much brighter red when it's artificially heated. That's why they heat it. It's like, oh, look how red this is. Why would you want that when you can get that? Well, the reason is that this is full of beneficial vibrations. The other stuff.
That's the hope. I mean, you're right, Nick. There are two questions here. Is there life in space?
Has been killed. This is the real. Tested like 90% of its benefits gone because it's artificially heated, and it looks much brighter red when it's artificially heated. That's why they heat it. It's like, oh, look how red this is. Why would you want that when you can get that? Well, the reason is that this is full of beneficial vibrations. The other stuff has been killed. This is the real thing, the one that hasn't been heated, and this is the golden form of it. Why is it yellow? Because it has more water in it. It still has that strong centering vibration, but now its energy has been shifted more toward the yellow band from the red band. And when that happens, one of the effects of this is that with the extra water in it, what it does is that it moves the chi energy in the body much faster because of the water held inside of it. So this will circulate the energy faster. This has a bit more vital force in it. Another stone that I really like is one called indigo gabbro. Indigo gabbro is sold mostly commercially under the name Mystic Merlinite, and when it's sold under the name Mystic Merlinite, the price is usually about 4 times higher. But the original name of it is indigo gabbro. And it's indigo because it's kind of purpley, and it's gabbro because gabbro is an incredible mineral that's similar to basalt. And what's amazing about it is that the foundation of the world's oceans, what's beneath the world's oceans, is gabbro. This is a specific type of this basaltic type of stone, gabbro, again from one specific location in Madagascar that I believe is a sacred power spot because of its energy. It fused together all these different minerals into the gabbro deposit and created extremely strong centering vibration. What I also find with it is that it has very strong energy of indigo and violet. indigo is one of the rarest of the vibrations. You rarely find it. In natural sources, indigo vibration tends to break down very quickly into other energies. So to find stable sources of the indigo vibration, it's the rarest of all the 12 bands. There's something alchemical, has to do with transmutation in that indigo band. And when you combine it with the violet band, like it is in this stone when you test it energetically, it doesn't look violet, it doesn't matter what it looks like, it's the vibration coming off of it. The combination of the centering vibration with the indigo and the violet gives it the capacity to absorb toxic vibrations out of the human body, out of a location, out of an item. This one, up to a certain level, can absorb toxic energy and do a type of transmutation where you can pick up the toxic vibration it's taking out of a toxic system and then check it a little bit later. The toxic vibration is gone and now it has more of that centering vibration coming out. It can literally transmute detrimental vibration. It does it better than any other stone I've identified with that transmutation of detrimental vibration to beneficial. So it's called indigo gabbro. I use the slab type form for putting on the top of wireless routers, toxic earth energy lines, electromagnetic sources, putting things on top of because it's a flat polished surface. I use the obelisk form to create a standing pillar of that vibration in a location. One other one that's really fascinating, and that is aquamarine. Aquamarine is referred to in Chinese as the pillar stone. It is a stone that is known in Chinese internal alchemy for being used at 3 different stages of alchemical transformation of the human energy and consciousness system. Now, what's fascinating about this is that there's been recent scientific research talking about inside of beryl stones. Beryls are a class of stones, and aquamarine is a beryl, but they actually found this and identified it in aquamarines. That within aquamarine, inside the beryls, is a state of matter that's supposed to not exist in the physical world. It's called quantum tunneling, where particles of matter can exist in multiple states and locations at the exact same time. And I believe this is directly related to indications from the Chinese Taoist tradition about this being an alchemical stone, because it seems to have an aspect of its forces are in multiple locations at once in a way that the scientific articles say cannot exist in the physical world. It's a purely quantum phenomenon.
Wow. Amazing. All right, let's go into another one, y'all.
This is Wix.
Electric power is everywhere present in unlimited quantities.
Look at this right here,
It can drive
y'all.
the world's machinery without the need of coal, oil, gas, or any other fuels. This new power for the driving of the world's machinery will be derived from the energy which operates the universe, the cosmic energy.
The boys they call like
Look at boy can't even lift that shit, right? Can't even lift a block. Can't even lift one, right? Let me show y'all something for real. You know what I'm saying? Let me show y'all something for real. For real. You understand me? Let's see where it's at. Yes.
So what you find in many classical traditions is that they will talk about different levels of creation. So there's the physical level. There is the etheric life energy level. That in China would be called qi, or in Japan would be called ki, or in India would be called prana. Greeks would call it the ether. So this etheric vital force energy is above that of the physical. Then there are consciousness levels, beginning with what we call in the West the astral level. Well, with all these different levels, we have to understand a progression that is taking place in modern science. And to do that, I think it's very helpful to review a particular concept coming from Rudolf Steiner. Rudolf Steiner mentioned at one time that people don't properly understand what electromagnetic energy is, because time and time again in subtle energy research in modern times, things dealing with etheric life force, with chi, we try to get validity from modern science by saying the vital life force is electromagnetic. But in fact, according to Steiner, electromagnetic energy is not the vital life force. If it was, you could plug the base of your spine into an electrical outlet and get charged up. But it doesn't work that way. In fact, there's a vibrational component in electromagnetic energy that is extremely toxic. And that's why people get electrosensitivity and have detrimental effects from electrical fields. So what he mentions is that what the vital life force is, that's above the level of the physical, in every classical tradition, they understood that this vital life force is what went into the physical and animated it. It's the animating power. So when we understand that, we'll understand that when that power has animated the physical body, that animation process creates resistance passing through the conductor of the human body, passing through the conductor of physical materials, and that means that this faster than light energy slows way down. And this particular energy from the ether begins to decay. The decay of the etheric energy, of the vital force energy, is what we call electromagnetic energy. That's why Nikola Tesla, in his work, said, well, today in technology, we worked with retarded Hertzian waves that are slower than light. But Tesla, in the 1890s, said there's another type of wave, scalar waves, that are faster than light. And that's the real thing behind the electromagnetic energy. So for what I'm about to describe to you, the concept is then that our electromagnetic energy is in fact decayed life force. It's the decayed vital energy that animates living beings. But it became...
Remember we were talking about that earlier. So basically the way that technology has been moving and the way that we use energy nowadays is we're only harnessing the decayed life force energy. So when you have all these concepts of chi, ki, prana, all these different aspects of energy that they're talking about, doing these spiritual quote unquote exercises or breathing exercises or physical movements or meditation on symbols or mudras, hand symbols, right? They all cause different things to happen within our energetic field. But the thing is we're not playing with decayed life force energy. And I think that's what Nikola Tesla was really tapping into, is that he was creating technology that would harness the scalar waves, not the electromagnetic waves, but the scalar waves of the spirit, of the higher dimensions, of the higher frequencies. And he knew through sacred geometry and spiral mathematics, the use of crystal shaped sound frequency resonance, he could tap into the scalar waves.
Became a shadow substance in electromagnetic energy. Now it becomes gross enough, it becomes dense
See
enough
what he said?
that we can use it to...
It's a shadow substance of the true life force energy, and it becomes gross enough, it becomes dense enough that we can use it.
Do things like turn a physical motor and create our modern technology. Hard to do that with the ether. You can animate a living being. And it's said that some traditions have been able to harness the ether to be able to turn motors. And there's a lot of work going on in this field today in things like the Tesla Society. But that gross level of the energy and electromagnetic energy is what we use in modern technology. But here's the problem, that when we have the mastery of the electromagnetic spectrum and of the spectrum of matter, the periodic table, all of our technology today is based on how we stick this electromagnetic energy into specific pieces of physical matter, into silicon doped with germanium or whatever it might be, to hold a specific frequency. But what they ignore is what about the next level up?
Yes.
Because after the electromagnetic, which Steiner would call sub-nature or sub-physical, and then the physical level, then you have the vital life force. We should be aware that every major spiritual tradition on the planet, every traditional culture until about 300 years ago, all over the world, always focused their healing on the vital life force. That's true in every culture. It's only a very modern development to focus only on the physical body and claim there is no vital life force. So since we looked at only the sub-physical and the physical for our modern technology, there was absolutely zero consideration given to the fact that these types of vibrations created by this technology are going to affect the vital life force level. So that vital life force level has got to come in to a new, more expanded scientific form of understanding. And again, we tend to try to understand it today through the number prism of the 3 gunas in Ayurveda, through the 5 elements of Chinese medicine, etc. But again, we can expand that into a spectrum that would include all of this phenomena together. So the discovery of this vibrational spectrum of all the subtle energies that are too subtle to be picked up by electromagnetic equipment began to take place in the 1930s in France. One of the major researchers was a radio wave engineer named Louis Turin. And Louis Turin had studied French radiesthesia, the method of being able to pick up subtle vibrations through the use of particular types of pendulums or other tools. In this work, they don't ask any mental questions. They don't program the pendulum mentally ahead of time for movement. Rather, the pendulums have particular types of angles or shapes built into them that resonate with a particular vibrational force, or they can be tuned to a series of different vibrations. Then, through the movement of the pendulum or other type of measurement tool, you'll then be able to perceive simply the presence or the absence of an invisible vibration that most people cannot perceive. Some people who are very sensitive energy healers or psychics may be able to perceive some of these energies. But what the tool allows you to do is then to pick up that vibratory force coming from any person, place, or thing. So with the work of Louis Turin as a radio wave engineer, he understood that there are all types of waves that are passing through us all the time that you'll have no idea even exist unless you have a tool to be able to detect it. So he knew from radio wave technology, radio waves are passing through things all the time. You don't know they're there until you use a crystal and you tune the crystal to pick up the broadcast. So as far as I'm concerned, this was a gigantic development in subtle energy work, to be able to differentiate the complete spectrum of all subtle energies into 12 parts.
Why the ending is so wild. No cap.
Oh my motherfucking gosh.
This is what we call quality scales, or the complete spectrum of all subtle energies into subtle energy work, to be able to differentiate the complete spectrum of all subtle energies into 12 parts. This is what we call quality scales, or pigment as a color. It can manifest in the scale of sound as a tone. It can manifest in the scale of shape as a particular geometric form. So these archetypal vibrational powers can manifest in different qualities, but they refer to them. So particular geometric as a scale of shape in the scale of sound as a tone. This is what we call quality scales, or pigment as a color. It can manifest in the scale of sound as a tone. It can manifest in the scale of shape as a particular geometric form. So these archetypal vibrational powers can manifest in different qualities, but they refer to them in the French work through the names of colors, because that was something people could directly relate to. So here, by testing the vibrations within the system, they could test water quality, for example, and the different bands of vibration that they had in their vibrational spectrum that they identified would allow them to find out if it contained various types of harmful pathogens, or if it was drinkable, and what type of pathogens there are. There would be different vibrational waves for dangerous chemicals than if there were dangerous bacteria, for example. It also allowed them then to detect what is the subtle vibration coming from different disease states, and what then would be the vibration that would then counteract or neutralize that particular wave. So this was referred to as the ray of illness and the curative ray. And so here you see the way that he's characterizing different illnesses and the wave that destroys the pathogen according to the different bands of the spectrum. So just as we have an electromagnetic spectrum, so we have a spectrum of these subtle radiations. And so when we talk about these different bands, I just want to give you a couple of quick examples. Let's say we use the orange band described by the French. The orange band could be found in natural substances and things like frankincense. Frankincense oil is full of the orange band. It doesn't look orange, but that's not the point of it. The vibrational quality is that of the orange band. You'd have to be able to test it to know that. But what does the orange band do? It stimulates the lungs, it clears the kidney and bladder. In fact, it is the orange band vibration that allows you to urinate and defecate. Just before a person urinates or defecates, their bladder or their colon will fill with the orange vibration, and that then leads to the purging effect. So one of the powers of orange is to purge energies. Energizes the thyroid, relieves muscle cramps and spasms, etc. At an energetic level, it purges, loosens, eliminates, cleanses, and it can also have even an explosive type of action to it. But at the emotional mental level, it promotes joy, happiness. It overcomes depression, discontent, fear. So when they would use frankincense, they knew in the ancient traditions that when you applied it to a person's third eye center or to their crown, it would force a purging of the energy out of these centers, and then that center could then become active. But there's another vibration that is hidden inside of frankincense. In addition to the orange band vibration, there's also the gold vibration, which we'll talk about in just a moment. The gold vibration actually allows the spiritual potential, the seed that's inside the energy centers, to begin to ripen and come forward. So at this point, the French, in identifying the universal vibrational spectrum, were then able to understand the functional effects of all of these things. Now the thing is that in the original French works, they did not clearly describe, though, what the functions at all of these different levels were of all of the colors. Now the most mysterious of the vibrations is what they called negative green. It's directly opposite the positive green energy quality here. That's what we think of as green. Opposite it is an invisible wave, almost never visible. If it was to be visible in light, it would appear as gray. But for most of the time, it never actually appears as anything that you can actually see. Here's one of the great secrets of ancient Egypt and other old traditions, connected to the Shakti concept of the Himalayan tradition. And what it actually does is it is the carrier wave that sends all the other energies. It was found by the French it could penetrate thicknesses of lead that could not be penetrated by X-rays. And so they were fascinated by it. And so in applying the negative green carrier wave energy, it is what inside the physical body actually moves the energy from one location to another, makes the organs work. And it also sends things from one system to another system. It is what conducts the energy in the energy meridians of the body, like the acupuncture meridians from the Chinese tradition. It is the foundation of sexual energy and vitality in the body. At the emotional and mental level, it breaks down resistance, opening up the blocked psychological aspects of a person to open to massive shifts in one's life and brings subconscious blockages into awareness. At the spiritual level, it actually conducts the energy from higher plane levels into the human physical body. And the more spiritual activity a person does, blessing, prayer, meditation, etc., the stronger this vibration is from their energetic field.
Fucking wow. Amazing, y'all. Do y'all understand what's going on? Well, high key. It's been a beautiful time with everybody. I want everyone to really understand and meditate on what's really the information that's being given to you. I am that I am. I've been working many years. Is that an egotistical statement? No. There's an understanding that it's trial and tribulation. Is that a king also makes mistakes? Is that a king is also dwelling in the midst of perfection? Just as a queen is. You know what I'm saying? So we need to understand that we're all on this spiritual path. But these are the beautiful tools and the instruments of the infinite, of the divine, that have been given to us to understand energy reflects itself in all forms. That we have all the tools that we need at our disposal. But it is up to us to decide whether or not that's going to be utilized. And at what depth, at what frequency are we going to be resonating on when we decide to embrace our divinity or to neglect it and to just be puppets. But I'm going to end it on that note. Peace, love, light, and prosperity to everybody. Om Namah Shivaya. I hope everyone has a blessed night. We're going to get this thing. We're leveling up 1 degree at a time. We just have to sustain that vibration. You dig? Peace, love, and light. I'm out.